What's up, Airheads? We're back once again in the virtual Airstream studios. It's time for Puttin on Airs. I'm Trae Crowder, and that's Corey Forrester.
Hi,
Hello,
I just
Corey.
heard me a Scottish song. You want me to sing it to you?
Aye.
I don't kinda wanna go to work no more. I don't kinda wanna go to work no more. I don't kinda wanna go to work no more. But I've got to get me tuppence, otherwise I'll be poor. You heard that one?
No,
Yeah,
no, I haven't. Where'd you
I've
hear
just
that? That's
I've just
real,
made
is
it
it?
up. No, I've
Oh,
just made it.
okay. That's good.
Yeah, I thought it would be delightful for you. I was feeling whimsical today.
Yeah, that was positively beaming with whimsy. That was.
I know that doing it and kinda probably don't go together like that.
I was
It
trying
was
to like
throwing you, right?
in my head. I was like, I done it, kind of, and
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was just something they did to really emphasize
How much they
how
don't
much.
wanna go to work.
Yeah, right, yeah, or
Yeah.
something. I thought, that was possible.
Yeah. When
So
I
I
wrote it,
still
I
played.
knew that those didn't go together, and so I wanted to present it to you as if I'd heard it and see if you would be like, "That doesn't make any bloody fucking sense." But it
I
does
mean,
sound good.
it does sound good. I mean, I was like, I didn't think it threw me a little bit, but like I said, it does sound good together, and, like, they got those, that sounds like one of them old-timey,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't, because 'cause "don't" means don't, right?
Yeah,
And kinda means can't.
correct.
So, I mean, I could see it's like, I don't wanna go to work no more, I can't go to work no more. They just put
Right.
them together. I don't kinda wanna go to work no more.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a nice ring to it for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I thought maybe they just did that. I mean, yeah, no, it definitely works. You should
Thank
write
you.
more of those.
I know, I was thinking about it. I'm like in that kind of zone now with the kid. Like I've just been like singing a lot to him, like just making up random songs, and I like to do it in my voices.
Well, I do. I I don't make up songs, but I'll sing songs in other, accents and voices all the time. That's a thing I've done for as long as I can remember, and Scottish is one of my favorite. Yeah, as you know, I like to do Scottish raps,
I
"Get our boots,"
yeah.
But also on another note, I think it's fun to do, like, one that I like in Scottish is "Traveling Soldier."
Oh, hey,
2
do it.
days past 18, he was waiting for the bus in his army green, sat down at a booth. Cafe there, gave his order to a girl with a bow in her
Boy on
hair.
hair.
Anyway, I could keep going.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. If you want me to fucking cry, you can keep
yeah,
going. That
yeah,
song rips my dick in half, dude.
yeah. Written by who, do you know?
Actually, I do. Daryl.
Nope.
No, no, no. Hold on, because the Dixie Chicks sang it.
Correct.
And there was a guy who wrote a lot of songs for the Dixie Chicks, and that's why I was
Because the guy I'm talking about, it's because of a specific familial connection with the Dixie Chicks.
okay. Tell me.
Bruce Robinson.
That's right, dude.
Yeah,
Man,
Charlie
that's the best thing
Robinson.
he ever wrote, by the way.
Yeah,
And he's written
yeah.
some bangers.
He's Charlie Robinson's brother. Charlie Robinson was married to, which one of
Uh,
them was he married to?
one of the twins.
Wasn't Natalie, right? He
No,
was
it wasn't
married to a different
Natalie.
one.
It
Yeah,
was the
right.
brown-headed fiddle player, I believe.
Yeah,
Who I'm so sorry I can't remember her name. Lovely band, lovely.
yeah. Now just the chicks, they are.
Yeah,
No
that's right.
longer Dixie, uh,
No,
which I found to be a bit of a shame, but that's
yeah,
okay.
don't
It
it
doesn't
hit?
really no, right?
Don't it? That wasn't the part we was mad at, was it?
No, I wasn't mad at any of it,
Yeah,
personally.
right.
But, yeah, Bruce Robinson, yeah, he's Charlie Robinson's brother. He also wrote a song about the two of them called "My Brother and Me," which is pretty good one too. Anyway, that ain't got nothing to do with this show
No, it
whatsoever.
doesn't.
So,
I'm sorry, I threw
um,
you for a loop there with the Scottish thing. What does have something to do with the show, and I just found this out and I wanted to share it with you. And if you've heard of this before, please just humor me. Just go along with it because it's possible the audience doesn't know.
hang on
Uh,
before we get into this, just to keep some consistency here. Typically,
okay.
we let people know what's coming up later
Oh, that's right.
after this. Um, I'm dressed in my morning attire, and I don't mean
Mm.
early in the day. I mean grief stricken. I'm not actually grief stricken, but today on the show, we're going to be talking about funerals. Because fancy people funerals and get a little ostentatious, believe that or not. And then
We're gonna go long
show
on that trash part, buddy. We're
You
gonna
got some
go
good
long.
stories?
Fuck yeah, I got some good stories,
Yeah, I
dude.
figured you probably did. I've
I
got
mean, I
like a
used to work for a funeral home, bro.
I'm sure I knew that, but I had forgotten that.
Yeah.
There's so many things about you that I have forgotten
Yeah.
that are wild. Okay, well, good. Well, that's good because like you'd
Yeah.
think I'd have more. I've got one. It's not great as far as like trash funeral stories. I have a very heartwarming trash funeral story that I've told before, but not on this show.
Yeah.
But it's not funny, but it's sweet. But that's good that you got some. And then history of Professor Cho
No, no,
on.
no. No, no, no. No, Professor Cho is taking the day off. It's Dr. Love, and we're doing royal romance. We are. Yeah.
What does
I
that mean?
it means that I am investigating the some letters between fancy people throughout the years, romantic letters from fancy people throughout the years. We're going to talk about sort of the origins of love letters, and also Trae, as an added bonus, I have selected a few love letters. From history, I'm going to read them, and then, as just a little spice added, I have rewritten them in redneck parlance.
Okay, cool. You gonna do
Yeah.
the original first, or you're just
Yeah.
gonna do the redneck version of it?
Original first. Yeah. I
Okay.
think it will both help provide context and also kill time.
I
Yeah.
okay. So with all that said, that's what's coming up later. But you were about to tell me about something else.
Yeah, so this is something that I mean, it makes sense, and I think that you're going to come to the same conclusion as I've come to on like exactly why it was that this happened. But like, like all the Greek statues, like of
Uh huh.
Zeus and David and shit like that. Well, what's something that every single one of them, aside from being white and marble and they're all muscularly, what's something that all of them have in common?
Itty bitty wiener hanging out.
Itty bitty
Yeah.
wieners, right?
Yeah.
What is
Yes.
I have a theory. I've always had a theory on why that was, and I'll explain it
I
after. What is your theory on why that
I'm not
was?
gonna say it's my theory. I feel like in my mind I can recall having heard two different apocryphal explanations for it,
Okay, well then maybe
both of
save
which are
it.
maybe untrue.
Okay, if I don't, what I'm about to say isn't
One of them I
apocryphal.
almost guarantee you is untrue, and it was
Say
that
it.
I remember hearing at some point when I was a kid that this is so stupid that, like, you know how some of them have fig leaves,
Yeah.
or whatever? I remember hearing that, like, they all had fig leaves,
Uh huh.
and it was, like, way easier to cover up a little bitty dick with a fig leaf, a sculptured fig
Okay.
leaf or whatever, but then the fig leaves had been lost to time, leaving only the itty bitty dick, which is,
It's
like,
it's funny
so
that they made the
absurd.
dick just to
I know.
cover it with a fig
Exactly, right,
leaf.
because that's what's so dumb about it, it's like they wouldn't but they cared about being anatomically correct, and the
That's
second one and
true.
more boring one that I remember hearing was that it had to do with artistic proportions. I'd heard
Okay.
that it was like
Well,
they decided artistically, aesthetically, whatever, that was more aesthetically pleasing in terms of the proportions of the rest of the figure that they were sculpting is another thing that I had heard over the years, and I
thank
don't
God
know the
neither of
veracity.
Yeah, thank God neither of those are the thing that I'm about to say. My theory on why I thought it was is that like the sculptor, it was like a sculptor's like subtle fuck you to like the
To
overlords and stuff.
Zeus?
Yeah, well, just any of them, like because there was like King
'Cause I
David
don't
and
know if
like
they'd come at Zeus like that.
yeah, that's okay. The Zeus one, my theory doesn't hold up. But like when it was like Caesar and all this, it was like someone, made him and made him all glorious, except for they gave him a little dick. And it was just like, yeah, what? Yeah, what? You know what I
Well, now
mean?
hold
That's what I
on.
thought.
Were they ever sculpting, like, living, what's the word? Patrons or living, like, benefactors or
See,
anything?
that's what
Because they
I'm
were
saying.
heroes and legends and gods and
That's
stuff
what
that they
I'm
were sculpting,
saying.
right?
Because they were doing it from people of the past, like with their hindsight, they were like that person really didn't hit, so I'm gonna give him a tiny dick. That's what I always thought. Now, according to what I've been looking up and found, is that the reason that they put small dicks on them is because back in the Greek times, small dicks, that was it. Like that was what's up. Like you was supposed to have a small dick, right? Like that they were
Huh.
considered beautiful. They were considered like a man like back then, and this is so funny, but back then, like big erect penises, that's what the slaves had.
I
That's
wouldn't have
what.
thought that.
And they were like, no, like a
I would
big
imagine
dick.
it's pretty hard to get it up when you getting fucking,
Yeah,
whipped in a coliseum, the,
yeah.
tomb of a coliseum every
The
goddamn day or
big part,
whatever.
that's not up to you, but the erect, I don't know if I'd. Of course, fear boners are a thing. Like all the blood rushes to you and it goes to your dick. Like I've been scared and had a boner.
Okay.
But
Uh,
no, back then, like it was like again, like if a man had a small dick, that was, or at least that's what they said. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're the ones that write this history, these powerful men. So like what I think happened is like they had these small dicks and some women were like, "Ooh, that fucking slave over there's got a bigger dick than you." And he was just like, "Of course he does. He's a fucking barbarian. Barbarians have big dicks. Intellectual people have small dicks." But like apparently back then a huge dick was considered a symbol of stupidity, like,
I mean,
which is
like,
funny, right? Because we've always said, like, every single one of our friends who's a complete word
yeah,
we can't say no more has a
right.
huge dick. Like, my buddy Big
Yeah,
Ed used to have a bit where he said that when God was
bro.
making the dick and the brain, he used the same stuff. And if he accidentally gave you too big of a dick, he didn't have enough left for the brain, and vice
I
versa.
mean, I was about to say, like, I feel like that maxim has held, somewhat
Yeah.
constant throughout most of human history
No,
because I
I
feel
know.
like
That's where I'm starting to
you
agree
see
with it.
like just a big rock chewing dipshit or whatever,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and somebody asks you like, "What do you think about his dick?" You're gonna be like, "Huge,
Yeah,
just
right, right, right.
ox
But
sized dick, guarantee it. Got a hammer like fucking. They all do. All them fucking idiots."
but let's chicken or egg it real quick if we can, because me and you are intellectuals of this time. Let's try to get to the root cause of it, cause and effect or not. Like, is it
You
if
just
you have a
admitted we got little dicks. That's what you just did.
yes, I did. Well,
Yeah,
I need this. I need all this to be true, by the way. I
it's
need this shit to be. Now, I don't know where they are on big balls. That's probably
yeah.
mean you stupid and don't hit.
Anyway, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Okay, okay. So when it comes to a dipshit having a big dick, whereas we all know them, and I guarantee you, airheads, write us in. Do you know a dipshit with a big dick? Get them on the line. Matter of fact, holler at them, and y'all write a email together. Let's figure some shit out. But like, is it that they were born a dipshit with a big dick, or or were they born with a big dick and they were like, I ain't gotta learn. You know what I mean? Like, whereas a dude with a small dick was like, fuck, I better know some stuff. You know what I mean?
I think here's what I think it's just the first one. First of all, I just think I would think that anyway. But if I'm forced to
Because
give a
we need
rash
it to be true.
well, no, if I'm forced to give a rationalization for it, I mean, I have 2 sons. You got one too, but he's a itty bitty baby.
Huge
Uh,
balls,
I
wieners, not a lot to write home about.
they start, learning or not learning stuff
Hmm.
way before they're, like, concerned about the size of their wiener. Do you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
true.
way
But
before puberty, way before they even know that anyone cares about any of that or they have any kind of frame of reference to compare it to other than your dick or my dick, dad's dick. They see dad's dick. And I'm not putting them off too
there
much.
was
Like, I'm not
always love in daddy's dick. Oh, that ain't right. That ain't
but,
right.
every young man sees their dad's dick at some point, and I feel like in my case, it was like, god damn, it was really eye opening. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
Seeing your dad's dick?
yeah,
He
oh
had a
yeah.
hidden
I
dick?
was like, what the fuck? Well, I don't know, because like
Right.
the first time I saw, I mean, this memory it's crystallized in my brain, but I was probably
But you don't know the proportions.
5 or 6. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like little, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ at the time. But I don't know if that holds up. And it's funny because I feel like the boys cannot be thinking that about me.
Right. Have
But
they seen your dick?
of course they've seen my dick. Dog, your son's gonna see your dick.
I
Like
know.
fucking
Don't hit.
it's fine.
No, I
Why does
know,
it
but
not hit? It's not a big deal. It's like again,
well, what
especially
at
when
what
they're babies,
age?
like you wouldn't even take it. Well, hold on, let me ask you something. So like you wouldn't like take a shower with your baby or something
Yeah,
if he
no, no,
needed a
no.
shower?
No,
I was about to
no,
say because like
I would, but like babies
because
don't be
we
having memories. You know what I
true.
mean?
Yes,
I'm saying like at
that's what
what
I'm
age do you
saying.
go, you're about to remember my dick, I better shut it down.
That's sort of like the whole thing's like you start with babies, you'll take a shower with a baby, you'll do whatever. And then as they get older, it's like, when do you stop doing this? I mean, I
Right.
definitely stopped like taking showers with them when they could like, you know, like we're full
Grab it.
bore toddlers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, tall enough. Yeah, that if they reached up, fucking started speed bagging it or something, you know. Yeah, yeah. Didn't want that to happen.
Right.
Uh, and so that's. But like, I'll still like, you know, I'll just have like I'll just get out of the shower. I'll be wrapped in a towel. I drop it to put on underwear or whatever, and the door to the bedroom's like
Here comes daddy's
halfway
dick.
closed or whatever. Yeah, here comes daddy's dick. Yeah, it's like I mean, it's just like
Gypsy
it just
speed boner.
happens. It just happens is what I'm saying. So,
Yeah, well,
but
okay, but, like,
but they don't like I'm saying they're not. My sons are still they haven't hit puberty yet. They're still not.
they don't know if they're dickheads, so they're
They don't care
learning.
if they're dickheads. There's none of that
Right.
stuff. And like they're already they do real good in school. They're already real smart. I
Okay.
don't think that a child at any point like looks down and goes like, "Well, I'm done with school now."
I
Because
don't know though,
what's up?
because I don't know
You
though, because like I do know people who like when we were in elementary school and middle school and shit, like they tried really, really hard and like they were a good student and shit. And then we got to high school and like started playing ball and stuff, and all of a sudden they just stopped giving a fuck. And like, is there a
Yeah. Were
correlation
they good
between
at the sports and stuff though?
yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that I
Well, I
that
wasn't good
that
at
I'd
sports and I
say
stopped
that
caring.
I'd say that all kinda goes hand in hand stereotypically. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, meathead, athletic, big dick, stupid as hell. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I know that people there are exceptions to every rule. I'm just saying all those boxes kinda get checked together.
Right.
But what's wild is, like, these dudes in the Greek statues, they're all fucking huge and shredded
I
and
totally
wrestled
forgot we were
naked.
talking
Yeah.
about the Greeks.
Wrestled na yeah, it's like you just thought we were just talking about dicks, which is fine. It's funny you bring this up because I actually just today randomly saw another article about dicks, and it
Oh
was
yeah?
dicks. Yeah, it was dicks and had to do with modern art forms and dicks,
Are
specifically
they getting bigger?
Hollywood,
Mm.
TV and film. I
Dong's coming
saw
back.
I saw that the vast majority of flaccid male, which it's all flaccid, or else
It
it would
has to
have to
be
be
flaccid,
would
yeah.
be rated X as a porn film, so it's all flaccid.
Kind of a
The vast
bummer.
majority of flaccid male peni that you see in Hollywood productions are prosthetics,
Right.
like nearly all of them.
Not
And
fair.
people were saying it's because people don't realize because of that, like it perpetuates the things like people don't know who don't have their own dick or who don't deal in dicks and stuff
Yeah, right.
that like they say there's growers and showers or whatever, but people think of flaccid.
Grower.
They think of me too. I think most people are, but they think a flaccid penis is supposed to just be like flopped, sick down to mid thigh,
Yeah, right.
swinging between your legs when you walk out of the shower or whatever. That's the cultural expectation. So that's what Hollywood does. But Hollywood doing that exacerbates that expectation, even though that's not what the vast majority of dicks be like. The ancient
Right.
Greeks, I feel like, were probably closer to reality than they still err on the small side, even
For sure.
considering
They're teeny
growers.
tiny.
But I think that's probably a more accurate representation than
Oh, it's
a lot of these
definitely a
big Hollywood,
it's definitely a more accurate
stunt winners.
representation, but it's like back then, like it's wild at what the stigma of the wiener back then was so different than it is now. Because okay, not to get into politics, but let's just say someone who was a big fan of a certain former president sculpted said former president nude. They'd make his dick big. You know what I mean?
Well, they
Like
would lie about everything
I
if they
know, but I'm
did
saying,
that because he
but
would
like,
also have a six pack
yeah,
and fucking
right,
the
right.
statue would be bronzed or whatever. Like no part of that would be accurate, up to and including yes, the big dick. I mean, dude, he's literally talked about his dick like in debates and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, right.
You know,
Literally, like I'm
literally,
pretty sure he
yeah,
told a certain female opponent that his dick had or
yeah.
something. So, but also, I just wanted to point this out before we move along. We have talked about dicks. We probably hit our quota on dicks, but not only were they a symbol of stupidity, the bigger dick meant less brain and all that. Like the jesters from back then, when they were putting on shows, acting like the fools, they had like huge like wooden fucking dicks that they strapped onto
Uh huh.
themselves and just ran around was like, look at me dick, it's big, me lord, I'm a
Well,
moron.
I mean, again, dude, I feel like all that like still plays today. Like you don't
Yeah.
see that much, but like if you've got a full character in something or just an
Yeah, he's
absolute
got a big dick.
R word, in a
Yeah.
character in some
They have big dicks
production.
too. Like,
Yeah,
the biggest.
everybody remembers in school, like,
Yeah.
dude, I mean, come on.
And
Like,
by the way, I don't
what are we
mean
doing
just
here? We
bigger than
coming here to
ours.
tell lies? Like,
I don't
it's,
yeah, I don't mean just
they
bigger than
do.
ours. I'm
Good
talking
for them.
hammers.
Hammers,
Like,
absolute
fucking
hammers.
dude, ours had an elbow in that motherfucker, I swear to
Yeah.
God.
And because, like, they pee with their pants all the way around their ankles in the boys' restroom,
And on
it's it
people,
and it'll
you
just turn
know?
around anyway.
Yeah.
We drifting
So,
into
okay,
dangerous
sorry.
territory now, but
Last
before we move on, though,
Yeah,
I
I got
just wanna
one last
clarify,
quote. Yeah.
I've got an awkward question since our producer is your father, but just the
Mhm.
tenor of that, part of our conversation earlier makes me wanna know. You saying you have no recollection of ever
Yep.
seeing, BPP's dick?
Yep, dick, nothing to write home about. Balls, absolutely enormous. I'm not saying his
Okay.
dick don't hit. I'm not saying
Yeah.
like he had a bad dick. Like it was a fine dick, especially because I've grown up to have that same dick. I see it
Yeah.
every time I go to pee. I'm like, oh, dad, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like but I had the same reaction as you, which was, holy fuck. But I wasn't supposed to see it. It was like he was in the
Well, I
shower
wasn't
and I
supposed to. My dad was like, "Hey, boy, get in here. It's time. Like, it's time you knew the truth." Like, that's not. Of course, I wasn't like
he was just
malicious. It just
I thought
happened.
he was just like trying to show you his newest Skinner tattoo, and it just happened to be down there.
No, it's just like I burst in the bathroom as he was getting out of the
Yeah,
shower. He forgot to lock the door, like that type of
Dad
thing.
is so upset right now. By the
Yeah.
way, he's so furious. But balls, fucking, I mean, big as a balloon. One last quote on this before we move on to funerals. I want to say that the ancient Greek playwright Aristophanes summed up the ideal traits of his male peers as a gleaming chest, bright skin, broad shoulders, tiny tongue, strong buttocks, and a little prick. That was the ideal man back then. By the way, I ain't got none of them shits.
Nope. Me
But
neither.
that's that. There you go, folks. If you want to know why Venus de Milo and all them had little tiny peckers, it's because that's what hit.
Does hit.
That was fun doing
Was
education
fun.
on penis.
Mhm. All right. Well, you want to talk about dead folks, funerals specifically?
Always.
Yeah. More the latter than the former. Not a lot of specific. There will be some specific dead folks who get brought up in this conversation, but just funereal customs and traditions. Uh, most of our like modern Western funeral traditions became a whole thing in a very specific period of history. And I feel like it's very Raven and makes a lot of sense. And also is the time that a lot of shit comes from.
The West,
No, before that, and
the
not in
Civil.
America.
Oh, okay. The Renaissance.
After that,
Oh
Victorian era
yeah, dude.
England.
Victorian England, dude. That we need
Yeah.
to do a whole episode just on
Well, it's
Victorian England.
because I think that's because like that was like the Industrial Revolution. That was like sort
Yeah.
of when like the modern
And
world
the
came
French
to
Revolution and shit, right?
the modern world. Yeah, they were around the same time, I think, but I'm sort of history dumb as far as how they overlap. I know they weren't fucking with each other, never have, but
Yeah, right. They don't hit for each
the
other.
English and the French. But it's sort of like when the modern world like was coming to be in a lot of
Right.
ways, like with
Yeah.
the industry and it's London, big
We
cities,
started some
city life,
exponential
all this
growth for
shit.
the first time in the history of
Yeah.
mankind.
But Queen Victoria, we've talked about this before. I'm pretty sure I might be misquoting this or I might be misremembering this. I should have looked it up again, but I didn't. I know for sure that she started a lot of trends, a lot of them, and
Mhm.
I feel like
She was an
maybe the
influencer.
the white wedding dress, I think, is from Queen Victoria. I
It
think she was like the
uh
first person to do that.
it was, and I think I talked about that on the Queen Elizabeth episode because like
Well, I've
the,
covered weddings, and I feel like it might have come
yeah.
up in that
Yeah.
that too, but I can't remember. But
It did, and
anyway,
it was basically just like she just wanted to wear white, and then from there then on, everyone was like,
that's
"Yeah,
just
you
what you
gotta do
do.
that," and that's what you
Well,
do.
so she did that with she made the standard in a lot of ways for weddings. She also did it for funerals, which I didn't know until looking into this. But her husband, Prince Albert, died of typhoid in 1861, dude. You know, typhoid, big thing, coughing to death, fevering to death. You
You,
just never knew. It's just wild as many people lived as did,
you
really.
know what
You
they
know,
did with
like
him after he died?
what?
Prince Albert in a can. Oh,
Oh, that's
hey.
right. Yeah, there you go. Got it. It's like it makes a lot of sense to me that all these like funeral customs and traditions come from this area too, because just everybody was dying, right?
Right.
Like
They had to get good at it.
everybody was dead, right?
Yeah.
So, Queen Victoria, her husband Prince Albert, died in 1861. She mourned him for the rest of her life, it says, dressing in full mourning for the first 3 years after his death, and her entire court did the same. Her style of mourning was later copied the world over and ushered in a period of elaborate ritualized behavior after death. So they had back then women, they had, well, I
A
think
time
women and
period.
men, yeah, mourning periods,
Yeah.
right? And it varied based on, it was like an amount of time you were expected to mourn the
If it's
death
your
of a loved
husband,
one.
it's more than your cousin. If yeah.
Yes, and the husband was the longest one. Widows were expected to mourn for 2 years, which is even more than they were expected to mourn for like children who died, which I
Yeah,
thought was
which is
wild.
way worse.
Yeah, right. But
You
yeah,
want your
and
husband to die.
husbands were also expect men were also expected to mourn, but they just wore like dark suits and shit, which is what they were wearing anyway. Women had
Yeah.
to wear like they had to go through all these phases of mourning clothes, starting with like full black and specific materials and all this shit for like a year if it's your husband. Then after a year, you can downgrade to gray. Now you're in like partial mourning status. This is all
Part-time
real.
mourning.
Like,
Yeah, I know, I
yeah,
know. I learned
like
about it on Downton Abbey.
partial mourning status, right? And then eventually you can get to white, which is when you're coming out the other side
Right.
of the mourning situation. And to not mourn for the, appropriate period of time was considered rather uncouth and
Yes.
unbecoming of a well-to-do person. Um, Children weren't expected to do any of that shit. They were too busy cleaning out chimneys, I'm
Stick,
assuming.
hoop,
Yeah,
all
stick,
that.
hoop, yeah, coughing to death too, covered in soot. So
Stuck in the
they
mud.
they didn't have time to mourn, but men still could go to work because fucking
Gotta work.
factory workers got to can that meat, or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's not going to can itself. Fucking, but women were expected to just like isolate themselves and be sad for a very
So the
long
same as
time.
before, really, but
Right? Yeah.
just in a
Yeah.
black shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much. They had other like specific superstitions about it, like dead person dies in their house, they carry the body out of the house.
Mhm.
They're gotta be carried out feet first, the
Well, yeah, Trae.
feet first, because if they were carried out the other way, the corpse
Yeah.
might look back into the house and beckon someone else to follow.
Yeah,
That's what they were
duh.
afraid of.
You idiot.
Mama'll take you with her into the great beyond, which is like, that's a
That's
fucking
so
dickhead
fucking
move.
funny. Yeah,
It's
right,
like
right.
that'd be a real shitty thing for your loved one to do.
It
Just
would
like,
be it
fucking,
would
"Come
be, but
on, let's go."
you'd have to understand it though. Like, especially in the early stages of death, like you haven't accepted it yet. You're just fucking alone, especially if you're a young lover that has just died and you
You're
realize
not
that you're
alone. You're with that
the
that
Grim Reaper.
the skull in a robe with
Yeah,
the
with
scythe,
the scythe.
who's a
Yeah.
very comforting figure. We talked about that on the Well Read podcast.
Yeah. Oh
I
god.
was trying to make the case for everybody that doesn't listen to the Well Read podcast that the Grim Reaper is like kind of a bro because like he's there when no one else is, like right after you've died, and it is very frightening and you are all alone, except you got this guy and he's like your homie. He escorts you to the afterlife, but then Corey and Drew were like, but why skulls?
Let's go.
Like it's
Why do you
yeah,
have to look like an eldritch terror?
yeah, right. Yeah, it's like the skull with the cloak and the
But as
and
you
the
pointed out, it's not like he chooses that. You don't
right,
get to he didn't ask to be born terrifying. He just
right.
is,
Just is a Stygian nightmare, but
Are
he's a
are
good dude. He could be.
are you gonna get into the part of everybody having a room in their house for this? Because if you're not, I feel like this is a good time for me to say that.
And then go ahead and say it.
Because you were talking about them being in the house and then carried out or whatever. Well, like back in the day, before funeral parlors became a thing, everyone just did it at their house. Like the house that I grew up in had a room that was like specifically for when someone died. That's where you put that motherfucker, right? I think that might be even why the funeral parlor was called the funeral parlor, because people used to be in a parlor and they were like, we better not do that in the fucking house. But it's this big ass room. And when somebody died, you just laid them in there like the fucking Pope, and everybody came through and was like, yo, dabs, 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 you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's, pretty wild and macabre, but I mean, where else is you gonna do it? Like, just on the dinner table, I
Yeah,
guess.
that's what it was.
I mean, I'm sure that happened a bunch.
They put them
'Cause,
on
like,
ice
not everybody
next to
could
the shrimp.
afford not everybody could afford a fucking corpse room, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, this our dinner table doubles as our corpse table, because times are tight right now, so you understand. But, like, we're, like, kidding around, except
That's
that, like,
true.
literally happened to so many
Yeah,
people,
for
like, it
sure.
was absolutely, without a doubt, the case. Uh, they were supposed to close all the curtains and cover all the mirrors when somebody died, because the deceased spirit would obviously otherwise get trapped inside the mirror, I guess
Right, I
they
didn't think
believed.
about that.
Yeah. Ghosts be staying in mirrors and shit all the time.
Well, they're
Well,
stupid. Yeah.
apparently they get trapped in there, some kind of mirror dimension. I don't know how they figured this out in Victorian England that, like, you know, I don't know if mirrors were supposed to be portals to purgatory.
I
Like, I don't
mean,
know. Like, do you get why are they just
yeah.
attracted to the mirror? Does the mirror suck them in, fucking
I've
Ghostbuster style, and then they're stuck in the mirror realm,
I've actually
serving the
wanted
mirror
us
gods? I don't
I've actually
understand.
wanted us to do an episode on whichever podcast it fits in on mirrors, because mirrors are fucking like wow. I don't mean to get all like insane
ICP.
clown posse.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude, this is why we're best fucking friends. But
yeah. That's
like,
immediately what I
mirrors,
thought when
what's that
what's
all
that
about?
about? Yeah.
You know, like it is crazy. And like, I bet you though, and you got to put yourself in these people's shoes. The first person to ever see a mirror, that had to be a wild fucking thing. You know,
Yeah.
like that truly had to be a wild fucking thing. And I'm
I mean,
certain
I mean, give you the slight counterpoint. This is still very different, and it would be wild. But I mean, we reflect in bodies of water, and we've
that's
been
true,
drinking from bodies of water since we walked out of the fucking caves.
but
So,
not as
like,
clear as in a mirror.
no, it would still be different to see. Like,
Yeah.
there's a huge difference between a body of water and a fucking
And
actual
just
mirror.
you.
But we've seen our reflections
Yes,
since
that's
the
true.
dawn of time,
That's
pretty
true,
much.
but not in fucking HD, bruh. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
So, like, again, if you're a smart person, you'll just be like, "Where's the scientific explanation of this?" Okay, move on with my life. But I can see a bunch of Victorian era people being like, "That's where the other portal to the other world is, and that's where the ghosts get trapped, and that's just us." But 0.2 seconds later, you know,
Actually,
they're
yeah, I could see that too because they were stupid and all that. Well,
yeah,
they were
right.
just very superstitious in general,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
kinda
yeah,
makes
and they
sense.
didn't have a lot of science to back stuff up. So like I try to defend them a little bit. Like we do say like oh the past were so stupid. And like that's true, but like as you pointed out in your bit, so were the smartest people from the past according to our, knowledge and shit like that. But like
Well,
that's
we
all
all like, knowledge collectively builds and accumulates over the course of human history, and every new generation of humans is kind
has
of
to accept
working
it.
on a has kind of working off of a larger foundation
Right.
of general human knowledge
Yeah.
than the generation before, and that's always been the case. Like, uh, did you watch the show The Last Kingdom on Netflix?
I did not. I was actually gonna ask you and Mark and Drew if it hit before I tried it.
It fucking rules, and you totally
Really?
should watch it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool.
But,
Netflix is so for me sometimes now. They're not
I
the
agree. I think that show started out on I don't not the BBC, but I think it started out on some other kinda network, I think, and then
okay.
Netflix,
Well, if
like,
it was BBC, then I'll watch it.
I don't think it was, but it was something else, I believe. But anyway, it's about the Vikings taking over England in, like, the fucking 800s or whatever, and one of the main characters in it in the early seasons is Alfred the Great, who's considered, like, the first of the line of current British kings or whatever. He's like the first one. Like, you follow the King Charles today all the way back, and of course they're not all there was conquerors and takeovers and
Yeah,
shit.
right. Yeah, the
But that
Tudors and the fucking
but
yeah,
like he the first one, Alfred the Great, pretty
yeah.
much. He's
He
in this
he made
show.
England what it is today, like
He's
because of
in this
him.
show and as a character, and that's one thing that I noticed about is I thought they did a good job of like showing how he's like one of the smartest dudes in that world, like,
Mhm.
clearly, but he
So dumb.
so dumb about so many things. Like, he's not, though, you could tell he's intelligent, but
Yeah.
he's like,
He's working with what he's got.
his whole thing is like, "We gotta start fucking reading, y'all." You know what I mean? Like, literally, like, that's where like, that's where he's at, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, because
Right.
before him, like,
Everyone knows that
they
now.
didn't read, you know what I mean? Like, that's how dumb everybody was. Well, he's the smartest
Yeah,
dude around, but he's working with a foundation of nothing, and so
but
he's the one that's
again
like he's like, "Guys, we gotta start reading and shit." And
again,
then, like,
though
more and more people kept reading, and you understand what I'm saying? But so it's
yes,
like
yes, yes. But
so
but
on an
but
individual one-to-one basis, I think that people could have been brilliant in these past
yes.
eras, but still have thought and believed some truly asinine
Yeah,
and stupid
for
fucking things
dude, for
because
sure,
of
but, like,
yeah.
to
And I'm sure
defend
we
them a
believe a bunch of really stupid
that's what
shit.
that's
Like,
what I wanted to get to is,
yeah,
like, in 500 years, what from
yeah,
our era that we're convinced that but, like, dude, to defend them a little bit, like, we're talking about a time before the printing press had been a thing. Getting a book was not just the easiest thing in the fucking world to
no, I
do.
know, but I'm saying he was like that was like one of his like priorities was like
Yeah,
this is
right. Get this
we gotta
going. Yeah,
make
yeah, yeah.
this a thing because
Yeah, right.
this is power, this
That's
is
crazy to
everything,
have that idea to think about someone having that idea
right?
and that being such a foreign concept. Because, like, the thing is, like, nowadays, people still preach that to people like they're hearing it for the first time. Like, y'all motherfuckers need to read,
Yeah,
But this dude's saying it in the year of fucking what, 800 or some shit? Like, that's
800 and
crazy.
something, yeah, way back.
Sorry to derail us.
No, I mean, I'm the one that brought that up, I think. But anyway,
I'm apologetic by
I brought up
nature.
the show anyway. They also people would stop the clocks in their house, whenever someone died, so they wouldn't have further bad luck. I don't it's like, well, if
It
we
was all the clocks.
it was the clock's fault. Yeah, right. If we shut the clock down,
Scurvy wouldn't have happened.
then what's misfortune gonna do?
Yeah.
If there's no clock ticking
I'll
in
show
our
you.
Victorian era tenement home. I'm sure misfortune will be dumbfounded as to how to reach us if time is no longer a factor. I already talked about the women's clothing, morning clothing, and the men being expected to work. Memento mori were a huge thing. You ever heard the
Okay.
term memento mori?
Yes, I have because Mac Miller had it tattooed on his forearm,
Yeah.
and it was the something about death. That's all I know.
Yeah, remember your mortality or
But yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that, I
yeah,
think is what it is, but
yeah.
it's like in this context, it was just mementos of people who had passed, and they would use different things, so, like, a lock of hair kept in a charm or a locket or something,
Right.
that's a memento mori of someone who had died, but memento mori also came to be used, and I know you know about this is a thing that everybody's heard about at this point. A very popular form of a memento mori during this period was to take the dead person, pose them as though they were not dead,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
take pictures with them.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Black
because
people still
pictures
do that sometimes at funerals. They do.
that's hilarious.
I mean, white
Uh,
people too, I'm sure, but
yeah.
like I on the internet, I see it with black people more.
So, yeah, that because pictures were really hard to come by back then
Yeah,
or whatever,
right.
and you might have somebody that died, a kid that died or whatever. You never had a picture of them. You want a picture of them. You don't want it to be a picture of their dead body, even though of course it's going to be, but you try to fake it. So that was like a huge thing back then. Funeral directors, funeral homes, they first became a thing in Victorian England. They would make it a whole affair. They'd have a black hearse, which was a carriage, of course, pulled by all black horses. Back then, coffins would be made of glass, so you could just see through them all the time, so everybody could see the dead person as they went down the street. Uh, that don't hit for me because I don't
That
think.
don't hit for me either.
Yeah, I wonder what you got. Something else to say?
I just because we're gonna move on and that's fine. On the dead people picture thing, I just wanted to mention that in my family home, we have a picture of a relative, my grandmother's cousin or something, and in that we didn't even know this till years later, but in that picture, they are dead. They had
Yeah,
been propped up and colorized, and we had no fucking idea. But they were like, they're dead, right? So I just wanted to say, feel you.
that's wild. The coffins also, you've probably heard this before. They would sometimes be built with like tubes in them or strings leading out of them and things like that.
I did not
So
know this.
yeah, strings attached to a bell, perhaps from the coffin. because back
Sometimes they
then
were alive and they dead.
yeah, because
Yeah.
dude, they was dumb about stuff. They didn't know,
Right?
like, somebody just lay there for long enough, and they're like, "Well, he's dead," and then
Yeah.
they put him on the corpse cart, take him down to the potter's field, whatever. Fucking and, yeah, I mean, that happened a lot. So, like, people that had the money and the means, that became a thing, they would be buried with some kind of mechanism where they could, like, hit it and be like, "Hey, I'm not dead in here," right? And I cannot believe I had never heard this before, but I came across this, and of course, I didn't fact check it any further, but I read it while reading about Victorian funeral customs. That, what I just said, that is apparently the origin of the phrase
Dead as a
"saved
doornail?
by the bell."
Saved by oh, that makes so much fucking sense.
It
Of course
does,
it's
right?
not the it's of course
The
it's not
school
the
bell.
school bell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Wow. How I know that you don't have the stats because it's probably hard to get them, but like, I wonder just, I mean, obviously happened enough. Well, I would say happened enough times for where they had to do that, but like, how did they know? Like, I know that sometimes they would dig up, they would dig up corpses and they would have fingernail scratches on the
Correct.
thing.
Yes.
So
Yep.
that's how they found out it was happening. But other than that, it would just be like, how the fuck
Yeah.
do you know?
Well, I think there were probably people who, like, somebody who they thought was dead, then they were, like, getting them ready to bury
And
them,
they
and
went,
they were like, yeah,
yeah.
right, fucking, people were doing that a lot back then too.
Dude,
Yeah, that
that
was a
is just
big thing in
fucking.
Victorian era England.
I mean, by the way, I bet you that that happens still today. Maybe
I don't know. You get
not
it
to get to the burial
We get
process.
embalmed
Yeah, yeah,
today.
yeah.
They didn't get embalmed,
I
so
don't mean to get to the burial process. What I mean is, I bet you there have been some times where someone came home and their old man was on the toilet and they were like, man, he's fucking dead. And so they're just like, they're not worried about calling 911 because they know he's fucking dead. And they start making arrangements and shit. Then finally they call somebody and they get there and he just kind of wakes up and is like, what the fuck's going on? Like, surely that happens.
yeah, it probably do. I'm realizing that I'm, taking a wee bit too long here, so we'll
No,
go
it's
through these
fun.
next couple
It's
of things.
fun.
I
No,
wanna
we
look
go
up
get the trash.
some of the more, I know, so quickly, I wanna know what
By the
some of
way,
those
my diaper does not work.
okay.
Yeah,
What is
just letting you know.
what do you mean?
I
You've
have peed all over my chair.
hits, okay,
Yeah.
but, I mean, you're in it now. You're in it now,
Yeah,
so
yeah, no, I'm sitting here, yeah.
alright. I wanna know what some of the most expensive funerals in history were, right? So I looked that up. Who's given credit for being the most expensive funeral in history makes a whole lot of sense in my opinion. Alexander the Great, whose funeral was a 2-year affair because he had
Yeah,
to be marched in a funeral
natch.
procession from Babylon back to Macedonia, or Macedon, or whatever it was called at the time. Took 2 years. They did that in a golden casket, golden carriage, whatever, with a whole, coterie of slaves with fucking gold and favors and stuff for 2
Palms.
years. This march across the desert, or the terrain, and that's people estimate that in today's dollars to have cost $600 million, which is
Shoo-wee.
pretty wild. On a lot of lists I found, number 2,
The queens cost more.
okay, I know what you're gonna say. So all these articles I found were written before she died, and you're already ahead of me on what I
Okay,
was gonna
sorry.
say, which
I
is that,
apologize.
because I know why you're gonna say that. Number 2 on most of these lists was Ronald Reagan, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" And it said it cost $400 million, right? That's
Mhm.
what that it's like, it's got the name and then the number. Number 1, Alexander the Great, 600 million. Number 2, Ronald Reagan, 400 million. I was like, "Well, what the fuck? $400 million on Ronald Reagan?" And, like,
Well,
he
you understand it
he had a
trickles
procession.
down,
Well,
Trae, so
but the whole reason they say that is because George W. Bush gave the whole federal government a day off work for his
right,
funeral.
right.
And they say, in all those salaries and, work time or whatever, that cost the American taxpayer $400 million. And I'm like, okay, I hear that, but
But
that ain't really
they
what
would
I'm
have made
after
it
here.
anyway. Like, oh, it's
Like,
not like the federal government gets anything done when they're there anyway, so it still would have
that's
cost us
also
that.
very true. As a former federal employee, you are correct about that. But I'm saying, like, that ain't what I mean when I say the cost of a funeral. Like,
Okay, alright. Well, that's fair then.
that's not what I'm looking for, is what I'm
Right,
saying. When I
I
look it
understand.
up, I'm like, the proceedings itself,
Yes, I
the
understand.
casket, the shit you do, like Aretha Franklin, She was like, she had 4 costume changes as a corpse. Swear to God.
The fucking queen, baby.
Yeah, in like a gold and ivory casket and whatever else. It was a whole production. People put on concerts, all this shit. Like that was a lot of money spent on that, right?
Generational wealth
That's
spent
what
on that.
that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about the opportunity cost of,
Yeah,
oh,
no,
he
you're
gave
right.
everybody a day off, because you were gonna say the Queen, right? And the Queen, they had to shut down shit for a long time, which cost the
Yeah.
economy
Yeah.
billions of
$6.1
dollars.
billion dollars, yeah.
Right. Yeah. But her funeral, even in terms of what I'm talking about, I'm sure was pretty fucking
Oh,
insane,
I'm
right?
sure it was, dude. You literally pegged me. I just wanted to sound smart and let you know that I knew a thing.
Well, I remember that. We talked about that, I think, before she
Before
died.
she
Yep.
died, yeah, actually we did.
Uh, Kim Jong Il and his daddy Kim Il Sung or whatever, they both had
They didn't have the
uh
same last name?
Kim. Kim
Oh,
is
Kim, right,
You know
that's
how
the
that
they go
works, right?
yes, the manga
Over
goes
there
backwards, yeah.
over there, the surname comes first. Yeah.
But
So
they do that in their comic books too, by the way. It goes the other way, and I read a whole one not knowing that and was confused.
anyway, North Korea is said to have spent $10 million on his funeral, because it included building a 75-foot statue of the man, and it cost $2.5 million in his tomb. Cost $2.5 million in maintenance cost yearly. Keep in mind that everybody over there eats bugs and dirt and is half
Yeah,
dead.
sleeps
So
on paper towels.
sleep. Yeah, so keep that in mind when they're in hearing these numbers. Michael Jackson, of course, had a big ass funeral, over $1 million spent at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Princess Diana's $11.8 million. Hunter S. Thompson, $3 million. He was cremated and shot out of a cannon, paid
By
for
Johnny Depp.
famously by Johnny Depp. Yep, $3
Yep.
million ceremony. Margaret Thatcher, the cold bitch. She was
Right
for
cunt, wouldn't she?
yeah, according to most people, except according to the Scots and that pretty much everybody except like the English elite. She was
Hey,
a huge bloody cunt who's burning in hell. But anyway, on her
hey.
way there, her funeral cost £4 million. Let's see, we got
What's
yeah,
that in real
Alexander the
money?
Great. I don't know the conversion rate, but
Yeah.
yeah. Let's see. Kim Il Sung, the granddaddy of Kim Jong Un, they did the same thing for him, and he'd been dead for so long. He's got this big tomb which has all these annual maintenance costs, and he'd been dead for so long now that it has to date cost North Korea $100 million just for him to
God
like be
damn.
dead there. Yeah, I forgot to mention earlier too with Alexander the Great, he's in his golden casket. They said they preserved his corpse in honey for
Yeah, I
the
mean,
journey.
that's actually
So
not a bad thought because honey
yeah,
don't go bad. So if
no,
you're
it
in
don't. Yeah,
honey, I could
right.
I mean, I don't know shit about how that works, but like it wild. We ain't got to get into it, but honey wild as shit.
Honey do be wild as shit. You're right. Okay, last time I say about rich people funerals, I've gone way too long, and I
No,
know
you
you've got
haven't,
at least a
buddy.
couple of trash funeral stories for us. Last time I say about rich
Megasode.
people funerals is that super rich people, not all of them, but many of them, hundreds of them at this point, have taken to freezing themselves
Yep.
at death in hopes of being brought back
Ted
to life
Williams.
in the far and distant future. Ted Williams did that.
Ted Williams' head is frozen, and
Okay,
it is.
is that true? Because he's been dead for a long time, right? Because
Yep.
I always
No,
heard
it's
that.
true.
I always heard that about Walt Disney.
Disney,
Uh,
true. That's also Walt Disney. Walt Disney's his whole body. Ted Williams is just his head.
uh, yeah, no, you're right. Ted Williams really is. Yeah,
I promise. Yeah,
Ted Williams,
Futurama don't lie, buddy.
cryogenically frozen head.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
uh,
one day they'll be able to upload his consciousness to a sentient robot, Ted Williams, who can give everybody batting practice.
yeah. Now, well, anyway, but Walt Disney was that one's not true. He was not
Right.
frozen.
Ted Williams is though.
Yeah. Okay. See, I'd never even heard that in my
Yeah.
life.
There was a gag about it on Futurama, like in the early episodes, and I'm a baseball fan, so like I looked it up because Ted Williams is a fucking. You should read about that guy. He's something else. But yeah, his head be frozen against, I think, his family's wishes.
I just had no idea that they could even do that far
I didn't
back.
either. I didn't either,
Like,
but they had the foresight. They were just like, one day it's gonna happen.
well, so they're still doing that, but we're no closer to being able to do the other part, the more important part, the waking people up part. Like they
Right.
apparently last year they successfully managed to freeze and then thaw. This is what it said. This is what it said when I read it. It's like cryonics researchers last year were able to freeze and then and successfully revive a rabbit's brain. Okay.
Held.
Period. The animal was still dead though. So the I was like, What?
Then what'd you
Ho
do?
Yeah, right, I don't what did you accomplish? I don't really understand it, but
But
anyway,
could they put that brain in another rabbit?
I don't think so, or I think they would have. That's what I'm saying, like, all those types of ideas, like, a
Look,
lot
we
of
gotta keep
people
trying though.
I mean, yeah, I agree, but we're just no closer to that being a reality than we ever were. I feel like it's also one of those things where it's very possible that once we crack the code on how it works, all
It'll be
these
a
people
nightmare.
all these people who are frozen now, we may have gotten that process. You know what I'm saying? There may be a very specific
Yeah.
way you have to go about it in order for it to
Yes.
work,
It
and
won't work for
everybody
these
that's done
people.
it up to date, up
Yeah.
till now, it's like, "Well, that ain't gonna work. They did it the old
Exactly.
stupid caveman way." Like,
Exactly.
fucking we can't
Yeah.
do nothing with that. I
I
feel like
do
that's a
think we'll
pretty good
figure
possibility.
I do think we will figure it out. And this will get way too far in
You
the
trying
weeds,
to
but
do that?
no, absolutely not. When I'm dead, motherfucker, I'm dead. I'm dead. I do not
I'm
want to be
just so
uploaded to no
fascinated
cloud.
by the future, though. That's my thing. I
Yeah,
love
that's true.
sci-fi and shit, and it's like, I
Yeah,
just really wanna see,
if it was
like
like if I had the opportunity to when they do this to me, it's like hey, what's happening is we're gonna freeze you, and then at one point we'll be able to upload your consciousness to the cloud, and you will be able to be sentient. You know, maybe you won't be able to walk around or whatever, but you'll be sentient. You can see stuff. I would say, okay, but in my contract, there has to be a button I can push to where I can go, all
Yeah.
right, enough
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
You know what
dude,
I mean?
you'd
Like,
have to
yeah, I
have
would
that.
love to see what my great grandkids were up to, but then after a while, it's like, all right, I can't play golf, Dill. So fucking
Sure. Okay. Well, but hold up. All right, we can't do this. We can't
yeah,
do it because
we can mega
I could talk about
episode.
this all goddamn day. No, I mean we did a well read episode kind of on this subject
Well,
just like
let's
2 or
talk
3
about it
months
on Well
ago.
Read next week. How about that
Okay. Well, again, we
teaser?
sort of already. Remember we talked about this whole
No,
uploading to the cloud thing. We
let's
had
do
a
it
whole
again.
episode about this.
Let's do it again.
It wasn't
People don't
that long
remember.
ago either. But anyway, doesn't
What are you
matter.
gonna do? I drink.
Okay, that's enough about rich people's funerals, trash people's funerals. I looked up like mostly just not fun facts
Yes,
about
they're all not
poor
fun.
poor people and funerals because it's like a lot of people obviously can't afford a funeral. So it used to be called a pauper's
Pauper's
funeral,
funeral.
which all it means is like if nobody claims the corpse to do something with it, the state or the government uses funds to dispose of the body in the cheapest way possible, pretty much, which means cremating and just, throwing them in the sewer or whatever.
Yeah,
Not
yeah, yeah.
literally, but,
Huh.
pretty much that happens all the time. The fuck. I was anyway, but fuck all that because you said before we started or right when we started, you worked at a funeral home and so you had some funny redneck funeral stories. So why don't we just do those and then we can move on?
Oh, well, I feel like you're cutting your segment short here, but that's fine. I
I'm
did
definitely
used to
not
work.
cutting it short. I'm at like fucking 35 minutes right now or something.
That's fine, buddy. You're a songbird. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I'm reading fucking love letters. It's fine. So yes, I did used to work for a funeral home. I wasn't like the person that was in there wearing the fucking maroon jacket and ushering old ladies to their seats and shit. I worked for the funeral home in the sense that those tents that they put up by the graves and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
I did that. Like me and Robbie, who of Robbie fame, me and him used to go out and you remember when Sparks energy beers were a thing?
Oh yeah.
Dude, well, we would they like his dad works for the funeral home. He's like an overseer for like this particular funeral home has like 5 different funeral homes. When I was a kid, it was just the one. That's where everybody got buried and shit like that. And so his daddy got us a job. He's like, hey, you go put up these tents. You know what I'm saying? And so we're like, yeah, word, true. So we could drink all fucking night because Sparks beers had come out, and then we just get up in the morning, pound those, and then go hit, knock the goddamn tents into the ground, and there you go. Now, so many people had graveside burials under a cattywampus tent. because me and
Yeah.
Robbie because me and Robbie were in charge of all that shit, right?
Yeah.
But I learned a little bit about the funeral business from like there would be a guy that worked at the funeral home that he would just like drive us. He wouldn't really do anything. He's just like, I'll drive y'all out there and y'all can do this shit. And I noticed that, a great bit of in a Southern funeral home, like there was a huge morbidity to the humor, obviously. And like, I remember they used to say that the head of the funeral home, he would go during the autopsies, he would just be standing over them and they would have to wipe crumbs of his sandwich off the body because he'd just be fucking eating and shit.
Lord, dude.
Yeah. And like I remember I was in there one day to like collect my check and this dude was on the phone and he was like leaving to go on vacation like that second and he gets a phone call and he's got to plan this whole funeral and he put his fucking hand over the phone and goes, "Does this motherfucker know not to die when I'm trying to go to Myrtle Beach?" And but a really sad thing about what you were talking about, poor funerals like paupers funerals and stuff. I had to be on a couple occasions what's known as an honorary pallbearer.
Yeah.
And what this was is when me and Robbie are out there drunk on Sparks, lips ever so orange. You know what I mean? I mean, we are drunk and they would come up to us and they would be like, "Hey, this guy, he's got nobody. It's just his mom's the only one here. We're going to need y'all to carry the casket." And I mean, I'm not even trying to be funny, buddy. That is a rough fucking thing to do. Like at first, like me and Rob were like, "Holy shit, we're pallbearers," but then we were like, "Oh my god, like, can you imagine dying and us? We got to carry your ass because nobody's here to give a shit, right?" But the local, like small town funerals are, they're very. I've found them to be very fun. You said that you don't have a lot of experience with them. Is that because you're just like I've
Mm.
because you, I
Every
mean,
no,
y'all
I
are
mean,
dropping
dude,
dead all the time.
buddy, yeah, no, I've been to plenty of funerals. I just like I don't know. They've all been pretty much the same in my
Yeah,
experience,
right.
just very standard and not I wouldn't like I never saw any white I've been to some the funerals of some white trash people because, we're talking about my family members here and saw very little white I don't know. It's just like
No white
everybody
trash stuff going on?
no, like it, dude. Even
Really?
like, bro, so the only like I can literally think of one example, and it's very mild. When my great grandma died, I was a pallbearer, and my first cousin BJ was also a pallbearer. And I remember BJ, rest in peace. Get to his funeral in just a second. BJ walked in wearing like, and this was in like 2007 or something. By the way, keep in mind he walks in wearing like Jinkos and a no
Yeah, yeah,
fear
yeah.
shirt.
Were they black?
I have like dark blue is what I feel like
Yeah.
I remember, like in a baggy no fear shirt or whatever. And my mom and my mom, dude, my mom's fucking queen of the trash, right? But my mom comes up and she's like, to BJ, she's like, "I thought I asked you to dress up," and he goes, "I am dressed up,
Yeah,
right?"
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
like,
That's the
and
next
because
point I wanted to
he
make. Yeah.
genuinely thought that, he's like, this is my
My
nice
dress
no
up
fear
cut.
shirt, yeah, right,
Yeah.
yeah. And anyway, that's the but at his so he's the reason I'm a Raiders fan. He's that guy. He's like he was trash. Well, I loved him like a brother, but he was trash. And at his funeral, like uh I don't know. I mean, dude, he like some of the trashiest people in Clay County were there, but they were on their best behavior though.
Well,
Like
first
all of
off,
them. Like I've been to a lot of funerals like that where it's like people just kind of hold it together
I
at
don't know,
least for
man.
the
Not
nonce.
where
I
I'm
mean,
from. I
yeah,
mean,
I don't know. I mean,
sometimes they do, but where everybody did wear black, but that was, I swear to God, like especially on my mama's side of the family, them wearing black meant that they were wearing their best Earnhardt starter jacket and black jeans, right? Which
yeah,
counted. That
yeah.
at the poor trash funeral, you've got all the ladies in the hometown who, like, even if they didn't even know the bereaved or the dead, it's like they would make an honorary chicken casserole to go fill
Yes.
the kitchen up in the back. Then
Yeah, of course.
you got the smoking section out back where all the
Yes.
uncles are sort of just like
Uh-huh.
channeling in, bringing the smoke with them. And by the way, they're broke, so when they go out there, they're puffing on half a cigarette, putting the other half behind their ear, walking the fuck back in there, so the whole goddamn funeral home smells like a cigarette. Right? There's
Yes. Yeah.
also situations in trashy funerals where the dude will have died and we come to find out that there was a girl pregnant with his baby and he had a wife, right? But that other girl is at the goddamn funeral, sitting there by the casket with the motherfucking ultrasound, just causing all kinds of shit, right? Then you got dudes who are coming in there who were ushered out of the funeral home because the person dead, everybody believes it was them that gave them the Oxycontin, and their mama don't want to fucking see them right now. So you better have some goddamn sense about you and get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? Then you got people who, for some reason, it's and we all laugh at funerals, you know, like everybody, like I think that's part of like if you ever, especially if you go to a comedian's funeral, everybody's like, all right, let's roast everybody, let's try to get everybody in a good mood. And I think that's normal at funerals that you try to bring a little levity to the
I mean, dude,
situation.
I've said before, like, I
I've laughed
killed
harder
at
at
I killed
yeah,
at my dad's funeral. Like,
yeah,
I did
and
I went up, I did time at my dad's funeral, and, you know, I got a bunch of laughs, but people were crying afterwards. It was beautiful,
yeah,
of course it was,
I
but,
wanted to share.
yeah.
I'll share this last story about a redneck funeral, and then we can get out of here and go to my topic, I guess. But so my uncle, uh, right before the pandemic happened, January before the pandemic happened, he shot himself. And don't worry, it's fine. As I always say, he died doing what he loved, sitting in his chair holding a gun. And it's funny too because like when this was like a month before the pandemic, my uncle shoots himself, and I out loud said, "Well, I mean, at least this year can't get any worse." Sorry, I'm doing my act now. But we get to his funeral, and like my uncle was a meth doing, fucking coke selling redneck from way back, had a high and tight like to the day he died. So his funeral is all those similar people. Now, a lot of people from Well Read fame, the podcast, will know who I'm talking about when I say Wade Cardwell. Wade shows up, right? Now, Wade shows up to the funeral because he's fucking my grandmother, and my grandmother, it's her son that's dead, shot himself, right? So Wade comes in, drunk as fuck on vodka. He has a big ass, like one of these polar pop type things full of vodka, and it wasn't a secret. He announced it when he walked in, and everyone at the funeral was so goddamn happy that someone brought the vodka, right? Him and my grandmother start drinking it and shit. Well, he gets a little loose lip. My aunt is over there crying over my uncle who is sitting in the fucking coffin, right? He's just shot himself. Wade then goes up to my aunt to hug her. We are on the other side of the goddamn room. So this is how loud he was. He walks up to my aunt and hugs her and goes, "I just got to know, did he do it in the head or the chest?" Right? And that's that. And it didn't phase anybody because
Yeah.
everybody was just rednecks smoking cigarettes and exchanging pills. That's my experience with a redneck funeral.
Yeah. Well, I said at my dad's funeral, the only the I 'cause I'm only doing this because I mentioned earlier I had a heartwarming story about a trash funeral. It was my dad's
Oh, yeah,
funeral,
please.
and what happened was I was, of course, in charge when my dad died, and I knew I was gonna have to pay for this whole thing, and this time I had 2 babies and, a day job and student loan debt. What I could not afford to pay for a funeral at all, but I didn't say anything to anybody about that. I was just like,
Right.
"I
Because
guess
what are
I'll
you
put
going
it
to
on
do?
a fucking credit card or whatever." So the funeral happens, and then afterwards, I go in the office of the funeral home, and I ask them, I'm like, "Okay, so what's the damage? What do I owe you?" And they were like, "Oh, you don't owe us anything." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they go, "Yeah, everybody in town just kind of pitched in and paid for it, so you guys are covered."
That's
And
wonderful.
yeah, and that's why, like, you know, uh, got a complicated relationship with Salina. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because those people, because my dad was always like a godless, dope smoking rock and roller or whatever. Like, he wasn't like a fucking deacon in any goddamn church or nothing. You know what I mean? Like, he's not
Right.
like what you think of as a typical pillar of the community in a small southern town. And, you know, his brother's the gay dude, his son is the godless commie, all this shit.
Queer,
But they
too.
still the queer too. I'm also the queer, yeah, and yeah, 2 queers in his family. But
Yeah.
uh, but in spite of all that, they still did it without anybody, you know, saying anything to us about it. Like
Well, funerals are
they just
insanely
did it. So
f
I got
funerals,
love
like
for them.
funerals are not a part of the American healthcare system, but they almost seem similar just because of the, abhorrent, cost of them or whatever, but, like, I'd always heard this when I was working at the funeral home, and this may just be what they say, but, like, do you know why they say funerals cost so much?
Uh-uh.
Because most people don't pay for them. So if they can
Well, I
just
mean,
get
that's exactly why
yeah.
healthcare costs so
Yeah,
much
right,
because
so it's the same thing.
it's
Yeah.
because we don't have universal healthcare, so people that can't afford it, we still save their lives, which we
Right.
should, but then they don't ever pay, and that drives up
So
costs for
we
everybody
have to pay
else,
more. Yeah. So that's
which
the
is
same
why
thing with
we should
yeah.
just be paying for everybody's in the first place. But anyway, whatever.
Agreed.
We ain't gotta get into
Agreed.
politics. But yeah,
But
I
yeah.
mean, that makes sense to me because that's exactly how healthcare works. So
Yep.
yeah, they have to right. Everybody they have to spread out the cost amongst everybody else because so many people are just never gonna
Yeah.
pay them,
They're
you
just
know?
hoping that 1 out of 10 people pay and then they're covered.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
totally buy that.
yeah. Or
Um,
just be funeral insurance, I guess. I don't know. Hell.
right. Well,
Well,
I mean,
that
there
was
is there
oh,
is.
there no, there
Well,
is.
I mean, well, that's what life insurance is.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah,
like,
you said yeah, you
that's what
shouldn't,
it's for.
but, you still shouldn't have to take a that money and pay for it. Just motherfucker,
I
first
mean,
off,
that's the point of
I
that's
know,
one of the points of
I
life
know,
insurance. It's
I
like, pay for
understand
the
that.
funeral, provide for the family, like,
I
that's
understand
part of
that,
what
but
it's for.
I fucking understand that. All I'm saying is it shouldn't cost that much money to bury a motherfucker, and
True.
but because of it, some people bitch about it, and I'm like, "You know that you don't have to do it, right?
Uh-uh.
Like, you totally do not have to do it. Like, you can just burn this motherfucker in a bonfire and then have a party." So, like, I kinda don't
Well,
have
dude,
too much
that
sympathy for some people because I'm like,
we
you
didn't burn
don't
him in a
have to do none of
bonfire, but, like, we cremated my dad and had a ceremony with no burial, obviously, because he was cremated, but we had a
right.
small ceremony at the funeral
And
home
that's the
with a
move.
cremation, and even that, I don't remember how much it was, but even that, I know was, like
$5,000.
no, more like 2, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah, yeah.
2, but
Yeah.
again, at that
But
time,
like you
I didn't have $2,000,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like, it was
But
more than I had,
and I
but
know none of that was in your control or whatever, but like the thing is you don't have I think a lot of people it's ingrained in them that like you have to go to a funeral home. But like you don't. Like you don't have to do that at all. You could just die and then you could just have everybody over at the house like they used to do in the parlor. You know what I mean?
yeah, what was I gonna say? Uh,
Was it that you love me with all your heart and you hope that I don't die?
yeah, right. Oh,
Yeah.
it's just that when
Yeah,
like,
right.
the funeral home, if if you employ a funeral what they also, like, they'll go get the dead person from the
Mhm.
hospital or the morgue or wherever they're
Yeah,
at,
but we
like,
could do
they
that.
yeah, I know, but dude, that don't hit,
It
like
don't hit, but we're talking about thousands of dollars here.
I know, but people like rednecks gonna be pulling up with a just backing a truck up to the
Yes.
door to the morgue, like, "Alright,
Yes.
just slide him in
You
there
don't do
next
it.
to the
You get your
dog food,
buddy.
next to the dog
Dude, you
food."
know my buddy
We're
Kit,
taking him to the lake to toss him.
dude,
That's what he wanted it. You're gonna shove
I'm
some
just
rocks down his
like
throat and fucking bury him with a smallmouth the way he
well,
always dreamed of.
I'm just saying it's you
Yeah.
can do that. So then don't bitch about the $3,000. I'm not saying that like the family should do that because that would be hard, but like we've all got a buddy, like my buddy Kit. You know my buddy Kit, fucking shirtless bowling ball motherfucker at my wedding.
Yeah.
Anybody in this town, if they called Kit and said, Kit, I need you to go down the morgue with your truck and put this dead body in it, he'd be like, cool, where are we going? Like you can get it done, is all I'm saying. You can get it done on the cheap.
Alright, well, let's move on. See these love letters.
Okay, Trey. So obviously, I guess we're gonna have to skip the part where you tell me everything you know about love letters, because
Yeah,
this
not
ain't no
shit.
fucking not
I
shit.
did
So,
find I did and I if I'd have known like, Katie found when we cleaned out the house I grew up in over Christmas break, Katie found some old love letters of mine, that had been written to me, I
I'm
think,
so glad that you said that because
and,
I actually want to talk about that off the
they
jump.
were, pretty embarrassing,
Yeah.
but
How many
not in a
times did you
super cringeworthy
reference
way.
System of a Down?
No, they were the ones she found were ones I kept, meaning they were written
Oh,
to me
yeah,
by,
right.
like, a girl, believe it or
You
not, an
stink
actual
less than
real life
everybody else.
girl. Yeah, yeah, but anyway.
Well, so
Love letters definitely used to be a thing. I wonder if kids are still doing that,
that's what I
like,
was about to ask
because
you
they
after
got
I
phones and shit now, you
yeah,
know?
so basically love letters
Fucking check
became
yes or no, man. I don't want
yep,
that to go
I want to
away.
get into that too. Fuck yeah, man, you're on my same page. So love letter is like in the way that we sort of know them started in the Renaissance because a lot of things started in the Renaissance. That's when like correspondence was like very heavy. It was also the age of chivalry, and back in those days, like a lot of the love letters that were being written because of how arranged marriages and stuff with like high lords and high dukes and like kings and queens and shit. A lot of them were written with the two not knowing each other at all.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
you would be like
Pen
oftentimes as
pals.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So your pen pals, like, because when you're like 8 years old, your fucking Lord Duke father tells you like one day you will marry Lady Winthrop of the whatever, and you don't have a fucking choice. So y'all just start writing to each other so that like by the time you get of that age, you kind of that's how you're. So it's not dissimilar of like people starting a romance via Facebook or something like that. You know what I mean? We look at it now as like, oh, they met on Facebook. And it's like, first off, we are way far past the stigma of that, in my opinion, because it's like, dude, we're an online world. People are having to work their
Oh,
ass off and then
yeah,
they go
dude,
home. Like,
I don't think people blink twice about people
but they
meeting.
used to.
It's
They
the
definitely
dating
used
apps and
to.
shit now, like,
Yeah.
they're completely, totally normalized at
But
this
yeah,
point.
but
I feel like it's honestly it's becoming
it's the
more
norm.
rare
It's the
to
norm.
meet someone at, like,
A
work or
bar.
school or
Yeah.
church or a bar or whatever, like, the dating apps are just completely standardized at this point.
Agreed, and it totally makes sense. Like everybody, like I don't know, I remember when like the Match.com and all that shit first started, and
Uh-huh,
everybody was shitting on it.
eHarmony.
Like,
Yep,
and for the
Okay,
record, I'm not.
Cupid.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was being all progressive at the time, going like, just give them a chance. I was probably going like, man, this is stupid because it was against what we normally done. But like,
Yeah.
if you really think about it, it actually gives people the chance to meet someone who isn't just directly in their purview at all times.
Yeah,
Because
no,
like,
I think it's a great I mean, because
me
like,
too.
everybody dude, every girlfriend I mean, I met Katie working with her. Every girlfriend I ever had, I, like, either went to school or worked with or
Right.
something, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's just how it used to work, or it's like or you get set up through mutual friends or something, which I never had that happen, it was always of my own accord, but, like, I mean, that's like you're leaving a whole lot of, like, you know,
People out there.
a whole lot of, yeah, different types of
Yeah.
people, different yeah, right, like,
Like,
yeah,
dude,
no, totally,
what if you live in Salina, but you're into Chinese
I'm sure
girls? Like,
Katie's
you're
gonna interpret this as me being like, "I coulda
I
done so
should
much better probably, like, I'd have cast a
yeah.
much wider net. Who
He
knows
couldn't,
what
by
I
the
woulda
way.
come out with." No, yeah, that's not what I'm saying at all, but I'm saying,
But
like, it totally makes sense to me. You meet people you would never otherwise meet, which I think is generally a good thing, you know?
yeah, because like, I mean, so many people, I think more people that I know than not believe in like true soulmates. And they've never once thought, like, isn't it weird how everyone's soulmate also lived on the same street
Yeah,
as them? Like,
right.
you know what I'm saying? So, like, but back then, everybody was
You
writing
think most
letters and
people you know believe in soulmates as in the definition of it, like, where there's one person
yes,
for each person?
I think
Most of the
most,
people you know
yeah.
believe that version of
Well,
soulmates.
okay, okay,
That
but
is
no,
wild to me.
hold on just a second. But you need to know what I mean by most people I know. I don't mean most people I'm friends with. I mean most people I know, because I come from a very religious town, and soulmate is also a very religious thing. Like God puts two
But
people
it's just
together.
okay, but I guess they think God would purposefully put them both in the
Yes,
same
that
town
yeah,
because it's
dude.
just like
No, no,
because
it's stupid as
the
fuck.
odds are
But I'm saying
crazy that the one
I
person for you on this planet is also in Chickamauga or
I
whatever,
know,
like,
but they believe it. Like
I
that's
believe in
God
true
put.
love and that
Yes,
people
but
can
you
be
also could have
together.
had true love with somebody else.
Yeah, very possibly,
Yeah, like,
right,
I'm
yeah.
so glad that me and because me and dude, fuck, I've known Amber since she was in 3rd fucking grade. You know what I mean?
Like, I don't know what the
I was
odds
19.
are
I'm kidding.
of any good couple or any given couple working out or not, but, I think that it's like it's just a statistical thing. Like, I think there's like a type of person for
Yes.
you, I think. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? And so there's
I
other people who are of a similar type who you probably could have made it work with as
For
well. And then there's all
sure.
kinds of people who you never, ever, ever could have. You're
Right.
just not compatible. But one person,
It
no,
doesn't
no,
make any sense.
no.
And I love Amber with my whole heart. I love the life we've built together. I can't imagine myself really with anyone well, okay. I mean, I could if I sat down and started thinking, I probably could. But all that being said, I believe that if I'd never met Amber, that same thing would have happened with me with somebody else. Like that's how that works. They probably would have been very similar to Amber,
Uh-huh.
but no, I do think most people sort of, and I do think that like maybe that like I don't. It's funny because I was gonna say like that age of love letters is gone because we don't really be writing letters now. But now that I'm thinking about it, like with Facebook Messenger and Twitter Messenger, like maybe that age is kind of back, but it's just more digitized.
yeah, and it's also like fucking, you know, what that mouth do,
Yeah,
fucking
yeah, it don't
eggplant
sound.
emoji, squirt emoji, fucking
Yeah,
that's what like, I feel like a lot of the romance
the
has
ro
been
y
taken out of, love correspondence
well, but
with
here's
the
the
advent
thing.
of text messages and emojis and things like that.
Okay, fair, but, like, the only because you've talked about this in your act before, and it's true. Back in the day, you only could read things and people's opinions that were published, right? And the only things that would get published were, like, famous people, fancy
Things
people, yada,
worthy of
yada.
it, yeah,
So
right.
you don't know what the fuck some of these peasants was writing,
Well,
you
I
know what I
doubt they
mean?
was writing at all,
That's
bro.
true, that's accurate.
They might have been walking up like, "You like the goose?" Fucking, "Let's
It's
get
got a hole.
married." Right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not me fucking goose, don't worry. She's back at home. But, on the subject of the soulmate, so one thing I should say, since I shit all over the idea, I have, like, been too high before, and I've thought about, like, because me and Katie, unbeknownst to each me and Katie met when we were, like, 24, no, 23, 24, something like that. But me and Katie, unbeknownst to one another, were in Knoxville at the same time years before that, right? And both ended up like leaving, doing other shit, and then meeting in Cookville years later.
Right,
And I've wondered before, like, what if I hadn't left Knoxville? Would I have stayed at Knoxville, right? Like,
right.
would we have met
Met
anyway?
again.
Maybe we were
Yeah.
supposed to have met in Knoxville.
Right, but you could have met
Then I
somewhere else.
branched off, fucked it up, but, like, fate brought us back together in the end anyway. Do I believe
It
that? No, but when I get high, I think about shit like that sometimes, and I'm
no,
like,
me
"You don't know. It's kinda
well,
wild, like,
listen,
maybe."
there's 2 me's, and I think there's 2 yous as well.
Yeah,
There's the logical, pragmatic, believes
yeah,
in science to the letter me, and then there is the me that is sometimes so romantically overcome by joy and love that I do start believing in, like, divine intervention and fate because, like, I don't know, me like because me and Amber, like our whole thing is that the reason that we were just friends forever. Like for a little background, I went to move to Chickamauga and started going to school there when I was in 5th grade. My sister was in 3rd grade. Amber was her best friend. So 5th grade to 3rd grade, she was just Kirby's best friend, who I liked, and we got along, but she was just Kirby's little fucking idiot friend. And she was that to me for my entire life. Like my entire life, she was just that. And then one day we're hanging out at like we grow up. Amber's in college. I have my own place. I'm living at my grandmother's house. Amber comes over with my sister and is talking about how she's gonna have to move home from college, right? And she's like, but I can't afford no place to stay. And I just go, and again, completely as friends. I had no ulterior motives at all. I was just like, why don't you just fucking live here? I live by myself. Like, you bring a woman's touch here, and like, you ain't even got to pay rent. Like, as long as you'll help me with dishes and shit. She does. And then boom, look at us. You know what I mean? Like, there's these wild, like, what if I just hadn't have been there that day? I wouldn't have a son if
yeah,
Kirby and her had just been hanging out at my house by themselves, or if I just hadn't heard that conversation. Like, I could have been in the house and they'd have been having that conversation. If I don't hear that fucking conversation, I don't have my baby, and my baby feels like fucking fate to me. You know, I know it's
yeah.
not. I know that
No,
there's,
I know,
it,
I hear you. I know
but
exactly what
like,
you
so
mean.
that's where the romantic in me is just like, this was meant to be. You know, this is fucking great. But I do want to read a couple of love letters through history. And as I said earlier, on some of them, I have rewritten them in redneck form. I wanted to start out with the first one because this is bringing us back to episode 1 of Putting on Airs, Henry VIII to Anne Boleyn. I talked about their relationship, but I didn't read this letter, and I would like to. It's one of my favorites because it's so fucking stupid. Here's Henry VIII to Anne Boleyn in around 1528. Mine own sweetheart, this shall be to advertise you of the great eleginess, by the way, which means there's footnotes here, which means loneliness. Did you know that eleginess meant loneliness?
Never heard that in my life.
Okay. That I find here since your departing. For I assure you, methinketh the time longer since your departing now last than than I was wont to do a whole fortnight. I think your kindness and my fervorance of love causeth it. for otherwise I would not thought it possible that for a little while it should have grieved me. But now that I am coming towards you, methinketh my pains by half released, which I think means he's like coming, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't either. And also, I am right well comforted, in so much that my book maketh substantially for my matter in writing, where I have spent above 4 hours this day. It took him 4 hours to write this. By the way, I'm almost done. Which caused me now to write the shorter letter to you at this time, because some pain in my head, wishing myself, specially in evening, in my sweetheart's arms, whose pretty duckies. Second footnote: duckies means breasts.
Nice.
I trust shortly to
Drop
kiss.
them duckies out,
Yeah,
girl.
I trust shortly to kiss
Quack,
with,
quack.
and shall be yours by his will. So yeah, that right there to me is kind of like it.
Buddy.
It only sounds fancy because it's in Old English, but it's a
So
pretty dumb
on
letter.
that, well, okay, on that note, um, since I'm a dumb person, let me like so that anything that's written in that old fanciful flowery style like that, I can't. I'm the same way with Shakespeare, dude.
It's hard to read,
It's not just hard to I can't listen to it and understand it. It's like
right? I'm with you.
my trash brain after like 8 words is just like, "I'm done with this. I don't know what." Like, I just it's like I can't follow it. The only way
Well,
that I
that's
can
why
follow it
I've
is to, like,
interpreted
look it
some.
down
Yeah,
is to, like if I have it in front of if I'm reading it, I have to
I
read it
understand.
and reread it,
I
and
totally
then I'm like,
understand.
I can understand what that means, but if I just, like, listen to it one time, I'm like, "Yeah, I got nothing on
Dude,
that past
I
there." I don't
totally agree with you because I've
Duckies is
recently.
titties. That's what
Yeah,
I got out of
I
that.
would have
It
never
took him
known
4
that.
hours and Duckies is titties. Both of those
Yeah.
things were things you stopped to explain. Other than
Yes,
those 2 things, I
exactly.
don't have a fucking clue what that letter just said.
Me neither, buddy. And like a good example of that is that I just recently started reading The Prince and the Pauper, which is Mark Twain's book where it's like his first take on his well, not his first take on historical fiction, but where he tried to write something that wasn't Southern prose. You know what I mean? Like he tried to write a thing that he otherwise really didn't know shit about. And so he's writing Old English, but as a Southerner trying to himself interpret it and shit. And I started listening to the book. And I swear to God, I had to hit rewind. Like
Right.
I found myself, it took me like, I swear to God, it took me 5 hours to get through 1 hour because I kept rewinding going, wait, what the fuck? So I finally just had to start reading it because when I'm reading it, at least I can go, okay, okay. So
Yeah.
no, I'm fucking totally with you on that. And that is why, by the way, I have translated some of these into redneck parlance. And I would like to start with Napoleon to his wife. And most of these letters, by the way, are letters from when the relationships kind of weren't hitting because I thought that would be interesting to read. So this is the actual Napoleon to his wife in April 1796, and then I'll read the redneck version. Okay, here we go. Should I do Napoleon's French, right? Should I try to do French
Yeah.
the whole
Good
time?
luck. Yeah.
I have your letters of the
There we go.
16th and the 21st. There are many days when you don't write. What do you do then? No, my darling, I am not jealous, but sometimes worried. Coming soon, I warn you if you delay. I'm doing Spanish now, aren't I?
You're definitely a mixture, but, like, it's hitting for me, the
Should I
thing
keep
that you're
going?
doing. Yeah, I
No,
like
my
it.
darling, I am not
Yeah.
jealous, but sometimes worried. Come soon, I warn you. If you delay, you will find me ill. Fatigue and your absence are too much. Your letters are the joy of my days, and the days of my happiness are not many. Juno, Juno is bringing.
Juma.
Juno is bringing 22 flags to Paris. You must come back with him. You understand? Hopeless sorrow, inconsolable misery, sadness without end. If I am so unhappy as to see him return alone, adorable friend, he will see you. He will breathe in your temple. Perhaps you will even grant him the unique and perfect favor of kissing your cheek. And I shall be alone and far, far away. But you are coming, aren't you? You are going to be here beside me, in my arms, on my breast, on my mouth. Take wing and come, come. A kiss on your heart and one much lower down. much lower.
How about that?
Okay, here's the redneck version.
That's salacious there.
It is. All right, so I got your first letters, but like, is this it? Like, fuck, are you so busy doing that? What are you so busy doing that you can't write back? Because I know it ain't because you're at fucking work. All right. And now, before you get any ideas and think that I give a fuck, I don't. It's just that you're my wife and I sort of got to know what you're doing. I'm the goddamn commander of the French army and it ain't a good fucking look. But for real though, please write back because not talking to you is really tying my stomach in knots. Matter of fact, I'm sending my boy Juno back to deliver some flags, and you better get your ass on his boat and come over here. Now, I should warn you, he's probably going to try and fuck you, but this is the past and France, so, you'll have that. Regardless, just make sure you get over here real quick so I can kiss on your pussy. You hear?
Yeah, that's it for me.
How's that?
Both of the I really enjoyed both of those
Do
interpretations.
you think I conveyed it correctly?
Yeah, from what I could
Okay.
tell, yes.
I
When you
spent a-
said Juno, Juno the flag man,
Yeah.
at first I thought you were saying you
Do you
know.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
I
Juno.
get that.
Like that's what I
Juno,
thought.
the
Yeah,
flag
right.
man.
Yeah.
You
have
fucked
met
him, didn't
before.
you?
You fucked the flag man.
Don't you act like you don't know Juno, the flag man.
Yeah.
Oh goddamn! By the way, I spent about as much time on this as Henry VIII spent writing that one paragraph.
Yeah.
This is Lord Byron. You know Lord Byron.
That's my boy, yeah.
Yeah,
She
this
walks
is.
in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes. That's Lord Byron for you.
Can you try to
That
on the
is
spot make that redneck?
the only one. She's as goddamn pretty as the sky and the moon. Goddamn pretty as the sky and the moon, and all that's best of God's good shit is in her face and the way she be. There you go. How about that?
Would you say that Lord Byron probably had like a growly kind of voice?
Oh,
Like
I don't know. I always
Englishman.
pictured him as like a
Regal, like super regal.
very like I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. A real
say it.
pretty boy
Okay. Well, I'll try to do it like
is
that.
what like a Don Juan, but a British one. You know what I mean? Like a real
Yeah.
suave, pretty boy dude is
Okay.
how I always pictured him.
I'll
But
try.
I don't know.
No, that's
I mean,
fine.
he was a legendary pussy hound drunk. So
I just
like,
wanted some direction. And the drunk is, I knew he was a drunk, which is why I was like,
yeah,
I
but I think
that.
he was a drunk in like a Casanova type
Nova kind of
drunk.
went.
You know
Okay,
what
well,
I mean?
I just needed direction on how to read this. So this is Lord Byron to Lady Byron in 1816. All I can say seems useless, and all I could say might be no less unavailing. Yet I cling to the wreck of my hopes before they sink forever. Were you then never happy with me? Did you never at any time Did you never at any time or times express yourself so? Have no marks of affection of the warmest and most reciprocal attachment passed between us? Or did in fact hardly a day go down without some such on one side and generally on both? Do not mistake me. I have not denied my state of mind, but you know its causes, and were those deviations from my calmness never followed by acknowledgments and repentance? Was it not the last recurred more particularly so? And had we not the days before and on the day we parted every reason to believe that we loved each other? That we were to meet again. Were not your letters kind? Had I not acknowledged to you all my faults and follies, and assured you that some had not and could not be repeated? I do not require these questions to be answered to me, but to your own heart. It is torture to correspond thus, and there are things to which be settled and said which cannot be written. Redneck version. I tell you what, it seems like nothing I say or do is worth a fiddler's fuck to you. Here I am like a dumbass holding out hope, even though you've made it pretty clear that our love life is in the shitter. Let me ask you something. Did you ever fucking love me? Huh? Did you ever give a shit at all? Have you been running around telling all them hussies you played cards with that I'm just a fat sack of shit? Seriously, was I ever anything to you but a goddamn dollar sign? I mean, the last time we was together, it was all, oh, have fun on your trip, see you later. And now it's like you'd rather me be fucking dead. Look, I ain't saying I ain't got problems, but at least I fucking admit it. I told you I'd quit smoking and drinking around the baby, and sure, I've slipped up, but I ain't ever acted like I was perfect. You, on the other hand, are doing a pretty goddamn good job of it yourself right now, you hypocritical bitch. You know what? You ain't even got to write back, because I don't give a shit. But you need to take a long look in the fucking mirror. By the way, it's a lot of shit I'd like to say, but I damn sure ain't going to be on paper so you can show that fucking lawyer you're probably fucking. Signed, Lord Byron.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
all right?
I loved it. Yeah. Once again, with the original, like, I
No
swear to
idea.
God, dude, I was
No.
trying,
That's
like,
why I'm here.
I'm not kidding. I would like, I would try real hard, be like, okay, focus, like, listen to this,
Yeah.
right? And then 5 more words later, I'm just like, just looking at the wall behind you or whatever. Like, I've stopped listening without even realizing it because it's just like my brain just can't do it. Them words is too fanciful and smart sounding for my
They're
brain to even
crunchy.
fuck with them. You
Now
know,
I know, man. They're like sounds we're not used
my
to.
brain's like, that ain't it. Get that out of here.
Well, I definitely saved the very hardest one to understand for last.
Good.
This and the longest. This is Henry VIII to Anne
Sweet.
Boleyn. This is Henry VIII to Anne Boleyn again. How did I do Henry VIII the first time? I don't remember.
Oh,
It's
I
sort
don't
of
remember it.
regal. Hey, it wouldn't sound like that, would it? It's
No,
Courtney.
I think he sounded like that. No, that's a bit.
On considering my mind the
There you
contents of your last letters, I have put myself
Yes.
into great agony, not knowing how to interpret them, whether to my disadvantage, as you show in some places, or to my advantage, as I understand them in some others, beseeching you earnestly to let me know expressly your whole mind as to the love between us two. It is absolutely necessary for me to obtain this answer, having been for a whole year stricken with the dart of love, and not yet sure whether I shall fail of finding place in your heart and affection, which last point has prevented me from some time past from calling you my mistress, because if only you love me with an ordinary love, that name is not suitable for you, because it denotes a singular love, which is far from common. But if you please to do the office of a true loyal mistress and a friend, and to give yourself up body and heart to me, who will be and have been your most loyal servant, if your rigor does not forbid me, I promise you that not only the name shall be given you, but also that I will take you for my only mistress, casting off all others besides you out of my thoughts and affections, and serve you only. I beseech you to give an entire answer to this rude letter, that I may know on what and how far I may depend. And if it does not please you to answer me in writing, appoint some place where I may have it by word of mouth. And I will go thither with I will go thither with all my heart. No more, for fear of tiring you, written by the hand of whom you would accordingly willingly remain yours, HR. HR, by the way, is how he signed things, because it was Henry, and then the R meant like regal or something like that.
Okay. So in the middle there, it seemed like he was like, "Yo, bitch, you gonna be my number one side piece or what?" Like,
Yep.
because I need to know, all right, because I got shit to do. Is that part of it?
That's how I interpret it, and in the
Okay.
redneck version, which is, all right, look, I ain't gonna lie. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Sometimes it seems like you're into me, and then sometimes, hell, I don't know. But you know me, I ain't ever been one for language knowing. I would like you to know, though, that I've been wanting a piece of that ass bad for like a whole year. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to lick your booty, girl. JK, JK. Unless you're gonna
But you
do it.
gonna do it?
I'm so glad you knew.
Oh, buddy, that's an all timer right there.
But baby, for real, I know I got all these other hoes out here, but they don't mean shit to me, girl. You know I ain't got it like that for them. So just let me know, girl, because I swear to God, if you get with me, I'll quit fishing, I'll quit hunting, hell, I'll quit hanging out with the boys just so I can be with you. P.S. Would really hit if you didn't write me another letter and we could just meet up, maybe even get naked. JK, JK, LOL, question mark, question mark.
That hits. Did you? This is coming off the dome here. Didn't Mozart or Beethoven
But
one?
stuff,
Yeah, right there.
Mozart.
Mozart wrote to his wife or mistress or somebody about wanting to suck her farts and
Suck a fart out of her asshole in
all
E
kinds of
minor
stuff
for the
like that.
record.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
A
Yeah,
minor, I
I
guess
thought I
that would
remember hearing
be.
that. He was real into butts and farts and stuff,
Actually, that'd
in
be
addition
A
to being a
major.
musical
Yeah.
genius.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
Have I done an episode on Mozart yet?
I don't think so.
Because I've definitely got a full 2-volume biography back there on him that I could dive into, and I would like to. But yeah, that's love letters through history. I kind of want to do that again, which is great because there's more love letters. But I'm not going to do it for a while. I'm going to surprise you with it.
Yeah, that was lovely, I
Did it hit for
thought.
you?
It did hit for me, yeah.
Thank you, Trey. I hope it hit for y'all. Oh shit, Trey, I have once again forgotten about airmail and thus
Mhm.
have not vetted them even one fucking
Surely
iota
not.
of a
That's
bit.
not
Now, hold on, dude. This has only happened sincerely like 3 times
okay,
in
alright.
in the history of that ain't the right fucking mailbox. In the history of us doing this, only 3 times have I forgot to vet them sincerely.
Well,
Uh,
I hope you're about to accidentally read another one, which,
Talking shit about my dad. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay. Hello. So what the subject line here? Jesus Christ, Porky Pig. The subject line here: a vinegar limerick Valentine. Hello, Trey and Corey. This is Auntie Angie from YouTube land. I've been a POA listener from the start and have enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you for doing what you do. I've never written into a podcast before, so y'all are my first. I was sorry. I was intrigued by the Vinegar Valentine discussion and had suggested in the YouTube comments that sending these to certain members of Congress would really hit. The following morning, I found myself pondering a vinegar limerick over my morning say that 10 times fucking fast over my morning coffee. So I thought I'd share. Oh well. All right, sorry y'all, we're about to get political just for a second, but it's not us, it's Aunt Angie. There once was a congresswoman named Marjorie, whose seat, I believe, is a forgery. History may write her off as a nut, yet her contemporaries know she is but a cunt. Okay. That's not bad. This may not technically qualify as a limerick, but it
Okay,
was.
alright, okay.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead, Trey. Talk shit. Talk shit. Do your
No,
thing.
no, it's because she's aware, Auntie Angie is aware and said it herself. I was gonna say it's like, well, that
Yeah,
weren't a
right.
limerick, but it, it's good. It started out well, like the first 2 lines, right? And then but see, I believe the 3rd and 4th lines were a little too long, and obviously you need the 5th line, which circles back to the rhyme scheme of the 1st and 2nd line. That doth a limerick make. But,
Yeah, right. Angie
not
don't
not
hit
too
it
bad.
limericks. It's fine.
But she said, she's like, "It don't qualify as a limerick." So she knows. She's self-aware, so it's alright.
I'm actually glad that I didn't vet and I'm just scrolling to the next one because here we go. This is from, I'm not going to say the name because you didn't say if I could, but AF, who actually wrote to us last week, the aforementioned talking shit about BPP. Uh, ARG. I don't know. ARRGH. Is that ARG?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Arg. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to insult BPP. He does great work. Regarding the sound effects, I am only a listener and not a watcher. I had imagined that y'all had a new sound machine and were playing with it. I should have noticed that it never happened again, so it was probably not you messing around with a new toy on set during recording. I didn't think about it happening in post productions or behind the scene. My sincerest apologies. I truly meant no harm, only to confirm that y'all are funny on your own. My name is Anna Flipone, and yes, you can mention my name. I married a spaghetti man and enjoy poking fun at him with you guys. Well, there you go.
That's
There you
great.
go.
I love it.
Okay.
No, hey, on the subject of limericks, I wanna do real quick. I've been sitting here trying to remember it, and I think I do, and just so y'all this is mean. It was supposed to be mean. Also, this was written when he was much fatter. But I
Me?
wrote
Yeah.
yes, I used to write and I used to write limericks about my buddies periodically, for fun, and I was sitting here trying to call to mind one that I wrote about Cho, and I think I've got it. Again, this was when he was, a fatter piece of
I'm
shitter
still
than he
fat and
is
a
now.
piece of
Yeah,
shit. Just I was
but keep
fatter
that in
then.
mind. It was, "Let me tell you about my buddy Cho, with a body carved right out of dough. Sir, he's a bit dumb and he's shaped like a thumb, but he's always on time for the show." That's what I said.
Which thank you by the way.
Yeah.
And you know the reason that it never bothered me because you mentioned my punctuality at the end, which is something that I care so much about.
Yeah.
So let's get to one last one, which is more Vinegar Valentines. Uh, This is from TS. Hey guys, please let me know if you ever want help with the Vinegar Valentines if that notion ever takes off. Here is a writing sample, LOL. Collectively, these 4 took me about half an hour to think up and type out. As my friend Jesse says, I can spit a phrase if I'm feeling like it. Love y'all like chicken. Beer. You say that you only drink craft beer, most likely a micro brew. And fuck cans, it must be a draft beer, only a pint glass will do. Or maybe you're the southern type who's loud and proud about his Coors Light. Please go lick the nuts on your truck because honestly, nobody gives a fuck.
That's pretty good.
That's fucking great.
I like that. Yeah.
This one's on veganism.
Fucking poetry corner out here in
Yeah.
Airmail.
I fucking love it. I hope there's
Yeah.
more. I'll read them next week. This is veganism, and then parentheses it says, hopefully y'all watch Jordan and Peele, or I think it's Key and Peele. No meats or milks or eggs for you. Okay, that's cool. Do what you do. But don't disconnect from reality. Your meal is not a personality. That act is just so far from real when all that you are is a vegan. Do we need to go call Jordan Peele and have him come pick up Megan? I don't get that last part, but I love shitting on vegans.
I think Megan is from what didn't they have a sketch where it's like a drunk white girl?
Oh yeah, that's
Megan,
it.
it's like,
Okay.
Megan, your jacket though. Right?
Yep.
Isn't that the sketch? Yeah. You
There
forgot
you go.
your jacket, Megan. So I think
Yep.
that's what that is.
There you go. And one last one. They're crushing.
Either way, I like this.
I do too.
Guy. Is this a guy or girl? I can't remember.
This is a girl. She didn't say not to say her name, so I have to give her credit. I mean, we can't just read art and not give the credit. This is Tiffany Stafford, and I'm a huge fan. Here's the last one. CrossFit. By the way, she's making fun of all the right things. People
Yeah,
who are
no, I
super into
agree.
beer,
Yeah, right.
dude, crushing it. CrossFit. Pain, strains, gains, sweat stains, yoga pants, and IG frame. We all know CrossFit's your game, but goddamn, stay in your own lane. I'm out here having coffee with scones. I could slice my butter with them sharp hip bones. I respect you, girl, if you want to get toned, but your cult needs to leave us juicy women alone.
Ooh.
There you go. Well, thank y'all for the.
You've definitely got Cho intrigued over here. Tiffany,
Fuck yeah, you do. And I need to say this: Vinegar Valentine or not, feel free to send your own limericks into the airmail, puttingonairs@gmail.com. That was wonderful. Matter of fact, if we get enough hitting limericks, we will take more time to do airmail next week, which will really save us some time in the topics. And it will be great. And I will love that. Hey, listen, go listen to evening or weekly skews. That's Trae's podcast with Smart Mark Agee. Listen to the Well Read podcast. Go to TraeCrowder.com for tickets to shows. We are coming to Little Rock very soon. Trae's going to be in Alabama before that, correct? Tell me stuff.
Yep. Yeah. You got it. We've also got specials available on Amazon. You can check out. You can find a link to those on TraeCrowder.com as well.
Yeah, and parttimefunnyman.com for bonus stuff from me. And I just remembered I get to pick you up in Alabama and we get to have a road trip.
That's true, yeah.
Dude, we should do like a live going down the road talking to the POA people. He's not going to want to do it, but I'll fucking do it. All right.
Probably am not going to want to, but he can force me. I can be forced.
I can. So. Like, subscribe, download, tell all your friends, give us a 5-star review. Stay fancy, motherfuckers.
Bye.
Here's Lydia Lovelace.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trae and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cunt, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at putting on airs, putting on airs, putting on airs.